If you're a wildlife photographer who's doing more and more video, you may be wondering, how is this monster for video, the Canon 200 to 800? Well, I'm going to tell you coming up next. So before you make your purchase decision, there are a couple things you need to think about. For example, this is, as you know, 200 to 800 millimeters. So if you're somebody who needs to shoot wide, well, then this may not be the way to go. The nearest competitor, if you will, to this is sort of in the filmmaking universe is the Sigma 60 to 600. Now, obviously it's a wider lens, but it goes to a maximum range of 600 millimeters. So you get another 200 millimeters with this guy. But it is something to consider before you put down your dollars. Do you really need to shoot wide and zoom into 600? Or can you get away with only going as wide as 200 millimeters, but picking up an additional 200 millimeters on the long end? Now, I usually film things like grizzly bears, wolves, owls, so things that you tend to be further away from. And for that reason, I went with this lens. Now, if you have another lens, and maybe you have a Canon 100 to 400 or the Canon 100 to 500, those are also great lenses. And if that's the case, well, you might just want to slap on an extender instead of getting this lens. But let's say that you now decided that this is indeed the lens you want to get. Here are some things you need to know. And I'm going to go over these rather quickly. I have done another couple of videos on the lens for photographers. I'll put the link down below in case you want to watch those. But for you, as you start to take video, here are some of the quick things you need to know. On the long end, it's an f9 lens. So that means if you tend to shoot in early mornings and late in the evening when the light is very, very dim, you need to bump up your ISO or somehow mitigate the maximum aperture of f9. The other thing is there aren't many places where you can mount the lens support. The only place that I've found is actually this ring that tightens or loosens up the zoom function. And I basically just loosened it up all the way because I know that I will be zooming in and out. But that is about the only place I can think of to mount the lens support. If you have another crazy idea, do let me know, because I would love to know that. When it comes to zooming the lens, it is fairly smooth, but certainly I wouldn't call it buttery smooth. And also it's quite a long throw. So if you're gonna do sort of a zoom in or zoom out, it's a little bit tricky to do it with the zoom ring. What I would suggest you do instead is shoot in your highest resolution. So for example, on this camera, the C400, I can shoot in 6K. Deliverables are usually in 4K, so I'll shoot in 6K, and then in post, I'll do the zooming in. One accessory you might want to get is this little focus wheel. Now, you're not going to see, well, maybe if I turn it this way, you can see how it moves the focus ring. And this is actually really, really nice to have because it just helps with your manual focus tremendously. And that is nice and smooth. Another thing you need to know is that the tripod collar, or the tripod foot, if you will, does not unfortunately come off. Boy, that would have been nice if it did, because, well, it would have fit into your camera bag even nicer, even more snugly, but unfortunately there's no way to take it off. However, you can put another cold shoe on here. That way you have another mounting point for various different accessories. But the big question is the lens sharp? And I'm happy to tell you, yes, it is. In fact, it's very sharp. Recently, I put a 1.4 extender on here. I don't know if you can see it. And that takes the lens on the long end up to about 1120 millimeters or so, if my math is correct. It also makes it f13. And of course, that requires a fair bit of light. But what you can do is you can, of course, adjust your ISO to compensate for the f13 aperture. Anyhow, there you have it, a quick and dirty review of the Canon 200 to 800 for video. If you have a 100 to 500, as I said in the beginning, or maybe 100 to 400, consider adding a 1.4 to that. You might be okay. But if you want sort of a more, I don't really want to call it a specialized lens, but it is certainly a lens with an incredible focal length, this may be the beast for you. At the 2,000 roughly US dollar price point, I can't really think of a better deal out there. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.